So hi guys, as you can tell by the title, it's kind of a if it happens kind of a video. Lots of thoughts on it, and here's a few photos of mine that I've just put in so you don't have to look at my face too much. Hope you might find them interesting. See what you think about the video, leave some comments below, and I shall see you soon. So as we know, what the Sony A8R can really do now, as it's been out a little while now and we've seen all the reviews and this, that and the other, but a lot of us aren't really interested, don't really need 30 FPS stills or the 8K video, most importantly. So yep, it's there with the £6,500 or dollar price tag. It's a little bit out of reach for a lot of people in the real world, you know, and you think, well, okay, yeah, insane camera, you know, do I just wait a year and buy a second-hand one when someone decides they don't want it anymore, or whatever? But Sony are still going to be adding new cameras, same as Canon, same as Nikon, same as Fuji, same as everyone else. They're still going to be innovating, they're still adding new new cameras to the line, because obviously there's going to be competition. So, you know, it's one of those things, you know. And here's a few things I've sort of considered and would consider, especially as a seasoned alpha shooter. I've been shooting Sony since 2006, and you know, not really looked back since, really. They were a little bit ropey first off when they first started, but got better and better and better. And also, as a lot of people will know me, I shoot also the Sony RX10 Mark IV, and that's kind of one of Sony's hidden gems, really. If no one really knows about it, it's a 24 to 600mm 1-inch censored, basically pro level bridge camera. It can do pretty much everything that all of our other high-end cameras can do, but in an all-in-one package. The lens is incredible, its speed is stupidly fast, 24 photos per second. You know, it's been updated a couple of times, you know, and basically it's a win-win camera. Yep, it does need updating now. Mine's 3.5 years old. It's been battered around, it's been thrashed, it's done over 300,000 shots so far, and absolutely love using it. But obviously I have the A7R IV as well, the 61 megapixel beast. But you know, are Sony going to keep the A7 line going? You know, are we going to see the A7 IV, for example? Are we going to see an A7R V and an A9 III? This is what I was thinking, because obviously there's still plenty of space for those cameras. But what happens if Sony decides, actually, let's not do another A7R IV, maybe let's jump a level and go to an A8. So we could see an A8R. You know, it could have, for example, the 50 or 61 megapixel stacked Exmor RS CMOS sensors. Having 24 frames per second on the RX10, that's loads, and 30, yeah, is more. But I'd be very happy if we were given 20 frames per second, mechanical or electronic. The Type A CF Express cards, 2 slots, that would be a game changer, because literally your camera is never going to hit buffer. 4K 120 FPS, a 10-bit 422 video would be insane. That'd be really nice to have up to that amount. And HD 240 FPS. But what I really wish Sony would do, and put them in the high-end cameras, because the RX10 Mark IV has got, and it's in fact the RX10 Mark III has as well, is a brilliant setting which is called HFR, and I use it all the time for certain things, and it's just brilliant to have. But unfortunately, when you hit sort of 1,000 frames per second in the RX10, you're basically upscaling, and it doesn't look all that amazing. At 500 frames per second, it's usable, but that's still upscaled. So if we could have, and I know the power's there now, if we could have 500 and 1,000 frames per second in 4K, real 4K, you get a 7-second buffer on the RX10, and people think, oh, that's not very long. But when you're actually shooting in that sort of speed, you only need a second or two's worth of footage. So having up to 7 seconds is actually quite a long period of time, because at 1,000 frames per second, that's 40 times slower than real time. So you've got so much room there to take out what you'd actually like to see, and there's a particular way you do it, and you can either push record and it happens, but 99% of the time you'd actually miss what you were trying to capture. So you have a thing basically called end record or end half, and basically you can use the whole buffer or half of the buffer, and you basically set up the camera, have it pre-focused and everything like that, push buffer, and it basically buffers and it carries on buffering until you push record. So that way you could set up something in front of you and drop a cup or something onto the floor, it smashes. Once that's happened, you then push record. So that way you're never going to miss that moment. For me, absolutely love using it. It's one of the most useful things to do in video, and it's so cool anyway. So if Sony could do something like that in the higher end full frame cameras, would be absolutely incredible. Obviously 15 plus stops of dynamic range. We're used to kind of that anyway. Absolutely brilliant to have that ability. The flippy screen from the A7S III would be obviously ideal. The 9.4 million dot EVF and the 240 FPS refresh rate would be awesome. Obviously zero blackout. The autofocus system of the A1, 120 times a second, would be incredible. Like I said before, either the A7R4 sensor or the A1 sensor, if they could tweak them or whatever they need to do. And what everyone else has been asking for ages is smaller RAW files. So could you take your 50 or 60 megapixel down to 24 or 26 megapixels and still have RAW, but also allow us to have the croppability, which is obviously roughly that anyway. So obviously you can crop in a bit in crop mode, APS-C mode. Obviously the flash sync 1/400th of a second is amazing, and the electronic flash sync as well up to 1/200th of a second, which is awesome. Wi-Fi 10 gigabits per second including USB, and Bluetooth remote would be obviously good. Z100 battery, obviously that is now that one. Yes, brilliant. You can go out for many hours and hardly use any of the battery at all, so that's a really good battery to have in the camera now. We're so used to that. One thing I do notice, and this is one thing they possibly could do, I'm not sure how you would do it, is a boosted USB power. So it will actually really charge back up to full power whilst in use. So while it's plugged in, if you're charging it off a USB bank or whatever, or using it from off a USB bank, the fact that you could recharge it fully back up to in an hour and a half or something if you're using constantly. So basically you can unplug it and carry on and have a bit more freedom, which would be great. Yeah, that's it, kind of, guys. That's my ideas. It's just only thought. I was thinking we've got a missing number here, because obviously Sony have gone A5, A6, A7, A9, and obviously back to A1 now, but there's still the A8 there. There's kind of like a missing gap. Are they just sitting on it waiting? Possibly it's just going to be used, or is it going to be the next camera level that isn't quite A9, but it's also not quite, because if they bring an A9 III out, which could sort of still be a 24 megapixel sensor but have even faster stuff than the A1, for example, you could have 40 frames per second or 50 frames per second, stuff like that. I don't know what's really possible, but it's just thinking outside the box really. But I think the A8R, for example, would be one hell of a cool camera, and if it was sort of $3,500-4,000, it makes it a lot more affordable for most of us out there without going, $6,500, that's a lot of money just to pay out. End of the day, yep, all the kit we're using at the moment, A7R4 is insane, the RX10 Mark IV is still brilliant, even though it's 3.5 years old now, and we're always wanting more, and I think this would be quite, for me anyway, this would kind of be almost the perfect setup. Speed, resolution, with not too much cost involved, but enough that obviously you understand you're paying for the quality, but having a few extras like the high frame rate for video would be incredible. I think it's one of the coolest things I've ever used, and I really, like I say, I really use it all the time, and you'll see it in some of my videos, some of the slow motion clips, and it just opens up another realm in the videography and obviously photography side of things that allows us to do a few more things with the cameras, and it's one of those cool things. So anyway, guys, don't forget to click the subscribe button, little notification bell as well, and please leave some comments below on this, because what would you kind of like to see? I don't know, because a lot of people are going, A1 too expensive, but would love it. So if they did ring out a sort of a lower spec version, i.e. an A8R kind of thing, with a few other things that no one else has, I think it could be onto a winner. But hey, no, it may happen. Who knows? But anyway, guys, like I say, don't forget to click the subscribe button, little notification bell, leave comments below. Please like the video and please subscribe as well. And I shall see you soon.